Hey, if you've clicked on this video because you want to see an incredible shop cart for your thicknesser, vacuum, whatever, I wouldn't carry on watching. Find something else. If you want to watch a Muppet with no standards cobble together something out of scrap wood, carry on watching. You could make this. Really hope my wife doesn't hear me say I've got no standards. Who am I kidding? She doesn't watch these videos. If there's two things I hate lugging around the shop, it's the shop vac, because I trip over it, and the thicknesser, because it weighs a ton, and lifting it off the floor every time, as Fred tells me, is not good for my back. So I thought, why not make a little cart with wheels? This goes on top, this goes underneath. You'll see it when it's done. The top and bottom of this cart is going to be made using my very last piece of this 25mm thick reclaimed ply. I got this stuff from my timber reclamation yard and it was £5 for 1200mm square sheets. It is absolutely battered, but it is still sturdy as anything and it'll serve the job here. Next up is measurements, and I'm not going to give you any for this project purely because I've made my workbench a certain height and I'm going to use the workbench as an outfeed table. So I need to figure out how tall the wheels are, plus the two bits of ply, plus the battens to hold the ply together, plus the fact that my outfeed table on the thicknesser is 55mm above the bottom of the thicknesser. I had to do actual maths and it really hurt my brain. Once I'd done the actual maths, I decided just to go for it. I'm using framing timber here as the kind of corner posts, but there's going to be more structural integrity to it, don't you worry. Now this framing timber is actually from me dismantling my old workbench. So as I'm working with it, you'll notice it's got screw holes and little grooves out where I may have slipped with a jigsaw. But yeah, I'm trying to do this project purely out of scraps, and that's my goal. No buying of wood. Bear in mind these ply sheets are very heavy, even cut to this size. I still thought it was a good idea to just balance everything on top of one another, just to check those measurements again. Now remember, this needs to be shorter than my workbench, but only 45mm shorter, so the outfeed table kind of lines up. I think I've mathed right, but I might have got something wrong. Hello. So this is the next day. I had to sleep on this one last night. I've got the height absolutely perfect. I've got these castors that are going to go on the bottom, and with the castors and the thicknesser on top, the tray, the outfeed tray of the thicknesser will be the same height as this, so I can use this as an outfeed table because I don't want a big cart. Thing is, I set myself the challenge of building this from the scraps in the workshop, but I really want to box it out, but I haven't got any more ply left. So I've created these crossbeam battens to give it strength, but I really don't like the look of them. So I don't know what to do. Let me think on it. I've had a think. I've got a ton of pallet wood up there with more pallets over there ready to break up. Just do it all out of pallet wood. It'd look rustic. Yeah, rustic. We're going with rustic. So let me explain what's happening here. What I did was I unscrewed those battens, which were only screwed in. I hadn't glued them or anything yet. Then I laid down pallet wood so that I knew that the pallet wood would sit flush with the edge of the ply. Then after that, I then pre-drilled the battens back in place and added some glue as well, because this was their final resting position. If I screwed this up, there's no coming back. Now I understand this all might not be very clear to you, but I promise you, it's making sense in my mind. The table is going to sway backwards, forwards, left, right if it's just left on those posts. Throw on a really heavy thicknesser and it's not going to have any structural integrity. I haven't got any boards, they'd be the best thing to make it structurally sound, so I am going to use this pallet wood. Trouble is, I'm going to use pallet wood on two sides. That's going to stop, let's call it, the forwards and backwards sway. It's still going to have to be structurally sound going left to right, but I'll cross that bridge later. So after lining the edge of those pallet wood boards on one side of the batten, and then just screw them in place. With the wood glue and then 2 screws on both sides, that should be structurally sound enough in my eyes. Who knows? Anyway, I'm using these decking screws, but they're not just cheap ones, they are self-driving, so no need to even pre-drill with these. They don't rip the wood, they don't split it. Even these cheap old pallet boards survived. Now I know what you're thinking. Hey dummy, you've not cut that wood to length and you've thrown a load of glue on it. I've already told you, track saw is king. Whether my woodworking skills are king or not, dunno. Find out at the end. If not, I need a big fire. So after repeating exactly the same process on the other side, I then whizzed over it with a track saw. Track saw is definitely king. Jobs like this in the past would have caused me such a headache. So many up and down with the miter saw. Not anymore.
Problem 762 when building from scrap wood. I wanted to build a shelf out of this. It needs to be 600mm and it's 580. Nobody will notice it's a bit small on one side, will they? Anyway, work with what you've got, so they say. I've got nothing.
So after cutting it down to a not so square size because one side's too short, I then used the jigsaw to profile some corners, some little notches out. That's where it's going to slot inside the battens. Now I'm being very cautious here. I'm trying not to take off too much because I want this to be as snug a fit as possible. The closer I can get this to fit, the more structural integrity this shelf is going to provide.
How am I back working on the floor? 2 videos ago I did a video building a workbench. Anyway, this thing's getting quite heavy to lift now. The boards have fixed up any movement that way. However, there's still going to be movement this way, there's no support. The way I'm going to try and get around that while still leaving the sides open for ventilation for the shop vac is I'm going to put a batten here and then the shelf's going to sit on top of the batten and inside the panelling, if you like. If I need to put a cross beam underneath it, I will. I'm just going to see how it goes. Anyway, this is very tight. Just as proof that I'm working with scrap wood as well. Look at the state of this. I don't even know what this has been on.
Now if you're watching this part of the video and enjoying watching me struggle, you're a terrible person. But it is quite funny. I cannot get this piece to fit purely because the angle's not right, I've not quite cut it straight, I made a bit of a mess of it the first time and then I went back and recut it. Like I said, I would rather it be snug than loose, but it's a little too snug.
I've messed this up. Again.
After forgetting that batten needed to be 25mm below the level of the pallet wood, I just had to readjust it. I forgot that the board was going to sit on top, but never mind that. Once it was in the right spot, I basically just battered the hell out of everything with a hammer. Once this had been gently nestled in place, I went through and put a screw everywhere where a screw would fit. I screwed it to the batten, I screwed through the pallet board into the side of the plywood, and afterwards it was structurally sound. It certainly wasn't going to come apart again.
Do you know what I didn't check? I didn't check to see if the vac would fit under there. I just assumed it would. I mean, I've messed up a few times in this project, but I got lucky there.
Hoping that my luck would continue, I decided to just go for it, put the wheels on. So I used a little spacer block to make sure all the wheels were in the same kind of spot in each corner. I marked it with a screw and pre-drilled and then just screwed them on. Simple.
Do you know what? This thing's not pretty, so I don't know why I'm thinking this, but I might just throw a little bit of wood colouring on it. Why not? This is the true definition of trying to polish a turd. Don't know why I'm doing it. So there she is. I put the world's most ugly stain on these parts here. It's still a bit wet. I shouldn't really put stuff on, but I needed to get this video finished. I've just put some Danish oil on the other parts. I've not even cleaned the splinters off. However, really pleased with this. Vacuum fits really snugly with what I wanted. Enough room for decent airflow under there so it doesn't overheat. I've got a shelf to put anything that I'm currently working on, including the lengths of wood for coming in and out of the thicknesser. Makes it really easy. And more importantly, I got my maths right. Look at this. So what do I mean I've got my maths right? Well, I had to do a lot of adding and subtracting for this. This is the infeed table, the outfeed's the same height. Look at that. So I can use my workbench as an outfeed table because this sits about 3 mil higher than this, which is as close as I was willing to get it. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this one. See you in the next. Bye.